So there's a new model of Leopard catamaran that came out this year, and I had a chance to sail it in January, and just want to talk about what I liked about it. And so that's what we're going to talk about is the new 46-foot Leopard catamaran. Welcome to What Could Go Right, a podcast about living boldly on and off the water. I'm Eric Orton.
I'm Emily Orton.
And in 2014, we bootstrapped a year on a fixer-upper sailboat with our 5 kids. We wrote a book about it called Seven at Sea, and that book became a New York Times top 10 travel book.
On this podcast, we explore adventure, connection, and stepping into a more intentional life. And we don't just talk about it, we practice it. We invite you to join us on playful, guided sailing trips around the world.
And if you stick around to the end of this episode, you'll hear our sailing update where we share where we're going, when we're going, and which trips still have space. And you'll get to hear a sailing takeaway from somebody who's actually already been on a trip with us.
Let's dive in. So it sounds like this new catamaran might be in competition for your favorite model.
It might be. It might be. I sail a lot of boats, and I get to see all the differences in features and layout and design and what I like. And there's a lot that I like about different boats. And so I'm going to talk about some of those features, and I'd like to talk about how most of those features have been brought together in the new 46-foot Leopard that just came out this year. So I usually will sail a Lagoon, a Bali, or a Leopard. And we lived on a Lagoon when we were living as a family. And so I have a special place in my heart for Lagoons, but they're actually not my favorite boat now.
Can you tell who's the maker and where does it come from?
Sorry, yeah. So Lagoons and Balis, those are the companies. There's Katana, I think, makes the Balis, and Lagoon is just, that's the company, Lagoon, and they're both based in France. And then the Leopards are produced in South Africa. Leopard is the company, and I think the manufacturers are Robinson and Kane. They always have a nice Robertson and Kane medallion on them. And anyway, I've been sailing Leopards the longest. We lived on a Lagoon, and I started sailing Balis a few years ago. The thing, and I'm just going to say what I like about Balis. First of all, they have really spacious kitchens, galleys, and they also have really smooth, open deck surfaces. There aren't a lot of things to trip on. There aren't a lot of hatches, that windows that pop up on the top of cabins. That's kind of a double-edged sword.
And all of these have the kitchen or salon up above the 2 hulls of the catamaran with where you can view out the windows. You're not below decks. So that's something all 3 have in common.
Yeah.
That is a favorite feature, but you're saying that Bali has a really big, extra big, spacious salon compared with the others.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole other conversation and debate in the sailing community about monohulls versus catamarans.
These are all catamarans.
And these are all catamarans, and we've clearly fallen on the catamaran side of things. I know that you I don't want to say as the mom, but you spent the most time in the kitchen. You have the most expertise there, and you really liked having the kitchen up in a catamaran versus down below in a monohull.
Well, the kids did the bulk of the cooking.
That's true. That's true. So, we're partial to catamarans, and so we're specifically talking about catamarans. The Balis have nice, big, full-size fridges, which is fun when you're chartering because you're going to be motoring a fair bit. You're moving the boat every day, and you have a generator, and you can run it often.
So the fact that you're motoring is going to help keep everything charged up.
Yeah, they have a lot of features that don't always make sense for live-aboard situations because a big fridge and freezer like that draw a lot of power, and you have to generate a lot of electricity, whether you're motoring the boat or you have to have a heck ton of solar, which these boats don't, or a wind generator, which they don't, or you have to run the generator, which we do.
Yeah.
And so the features are nice, especially when you're only out for a short period of time. So I'm talking about chartering experiences versus live aboard.
Okay. Yeah.
And the thing, my favorite feature of the Bali is that they have it's the garage, what I call the garage door. And basically you have the galley and the salon, and that's basically the kitchen and the dining room together. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the salons in the Bali have a big garage door that just opens up. Like if you were facing the back of the boat, you would see a garage door go up and the side walls retract.
But the garage door is basically made of plexiglass. So you can see through it.
You can see through it. You can see through it, but if it's cold or windy or rainy and you want to close the boat in, you lower the garage door and you pull these side panels back and everything is completely enclosed. But for most of the time when the weather is lovely, you want the boat open, and the Bali has the best open layout of any catamaran I've ever sailed. And so the garage door goes up, the side panels retract, and you have a big long table that can seat easily 10, 12 people, sometimes 14.
It feels kind of like a pavilion to me inside the Bali because it feels like the sides are mostly open, the wind is blowing through, but you have shade overhead.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah. You
know,
have shade. You're covered if it does rain. It doesn't all come in. But if you really want to close yourself up, you can. But the rest of the time, you can just have like an open outdoor area where the wind is coming through, but you have comfortable places to sit, a big spacious table, and lots of shade. That's what
mhm.
I love about it. Here's what I don't love about the Bali is that, like I was saying, they have smooth, clear deck surfaces. That's because none of the cabins have top hatches.
Oh,
There's no way to open the cabin from
the ceiling.
the ceiling. And so there are very few options for getting a breeze into the cabin, which when you're living on a when you're chartering and it's you're out during the day and then at night you run the generator and you run the air conditioning, it's fine.
If you like the breeze.
But if you're living on the boat and you don't want to run the generator and run the AC every night, which can get expensive,
Or
that
noisy.
and noisy, it's nice to just throw the hatches open and have the breeze come in, and the breeze can be really lovely. You don't have that option on a Bali, which is my least favorite feature about it.
And it's such a special experience too. Like, great if you go out on one of these trips with us and your crew decides you want to use the air conditioning, that's always an option. But it's such a special experience to be out in one of these very temperate locations and be able to have your hatch open and be sleep comfortably cooled by a breeze. And all you hear are the sounds of like the lapping water.
Yeah,
So,
there's something special about a quiet boat at night without an engine or a generator running and sleeping cool, which I think is a little bit hard to come by on a Bali because they don't have these roof hatches in each cabin. So, and I'll just jump to the lagoons real quick because the Bali, another thing that I love about the Bali is that there's a door from the kitchen galley area to the front part of the boat. The Bali and the Leopards both have these doors.
like to the bow, to the outdoor
Yes, so
section.
you can the whole back is open. The Bali has this garage door that I'm talking about. The Leopards have these sliding doors that open up, but both of them have a door that opens between the galley and the nav station. Usually it opens and you can walk out to the front of the boat. You don't have to go back. You don't have to go out the back and then walk around to the front.
You don't have to walk around the deck to get to the front. You
Yeah,
can just like a front door and a back door.
yeah. And on a lagoon, you have to go all the way around. There's no door to the front unless you're on a really, really big lagoon, like a 55 or 60-foot lagoon.
Or you're really tiny and you can fit through the hatch.
Yes, yes.
Which small kids love hatches.
Which our kids would do. And so, however, one thing I do like about lagoons and leopards is that they have these hatches on the top of the cabin and they open up so you can get a breeze in. However, on the lagoons, the hatches face backwards, meaning facing the stern or the back of the boat, so that you can have a breeze come in or you can have an opening, but it doesn't pull the breeze in. And this is going to get a little bit technical. Whenever you're at anchor or whenever you're on a mooring ball, the boat is going to turn so that it's facing into the breeze. That's just how boats line up. So if you have hatches that open facing forward and the breeze, it's going to let the breeze come into the boat
It's
and
gonna like
cool it
scoop it
down.
in.
It's going to scoop it in. As on a lagoon, the boat will line up with the wind, but the hatches will be opening pointing backwards, and so they don't invite the
They
wind
kind of
in.
block it out.
Ours did though. Ours did, but the newer ones don't, and that's one thing I don't like about them. So one strike against the lagoon is that I guess one positive is that they have roof hatches, and then two they open facing backwards, which I don't like.
You might get lucky if you're on a dock, but there's never much breeze when you're on a dock.
No,
Yeah.
marinas are always stuffy. That's why you plug into shore power and run the AC. Which brings us to the Leopard. I've been sailing I've been sailing Leopards for years, and normally I'll sail a four cabin, which is a 45 foot, and there's different versions. They have the Sunsail 450 and the Sunsail 4500. The newer one is the Sunsail 465 or the Moorings 4600. They're the exact same boat, but they just have different branding on them. And I sailed the 4600 recently. I was supposed to do a Sunsail and they swapped me over to a Moorings, which was fine. But it's the same boat. And so you have two cabins with queen size beds on the port side. You have the galley in the middle and I'm going to go through in my mind the salon area, or actually, real quick, the cabin layout. So you have two on the port side.
And we'll put pictures and videos. So this is definitely an episode. We'll put a link to the YouTube
Yeah, this is
version in the show notes.
I'm visually describing something that's going to be a lot easier to just see, or I'm going to describe something verbally that's a lot easier to see pictures and video. So the port side, you have two cabins. On the starboard side, you have a forward cabin that sleeps two. Then you have a bunk cabin in the middle with its own bathroom. And then you have a rear cabin that also has its own bathroom that has a queen size bed. So there's 5 cabins. One of them has bunk beds. See video. Here's one of our cabins in this new 465 that we're taking out. Here's the forward cabin. We'll close that 4-peak up in a second. Here's the bathroom. Looks nice. Coming up into the salon. Nav desk. Oven. Nice stove. All the appliances. Double fridge. Gotta love it. Fridge over there. And I just like having the option of bunk beds, to be honest, because a lot of times people will come and they'll travel solo. And if they're willing to share a cabin, I'm willing to put 2 people in a cabin. But sometimes it's just preferable to have your own bed. Can get a little bit, I find that ladies are a little bit more willing to share a bed. Guys were a little bit more awkward about it. And so having bunks is great. And then also if you have kids, that can just make it easier. It's a smaller cabin, but it has bunk beds. And so I really like having that component of it, especially like if you and I were to live on a boat and have Lily with us, then we would still be able to have our family with us, or we could take out groups, and there's still plenty of space for everybody.
Yeah.
I will say there's also a 4-peak cabin, but on this particular one, normally the 4-peak cabin is isolated. You do get into that one from the hatch only. This one, it was open to the cabin. There was no bulkhead separating the kind of the queen size cabin from the 4-peak that was right next to it.
So it was kind of like the queen size cabin and a loft.
Well, it would be perfect if you like, hey, here's a couple and they have a child that they want to share a room with, but they don't want to share a bed. It could all be connected, but they would have their own space.
But they don't want to share with the captain.
Yeah. And because normally I'll take the 4-peak cabin, but I don't want to be sleeping in the 4-peak unless there's a bulkhead wall dividing it.
Right.
Also, there's no 4-peak bathroom, so that cabin, that space doesn't have its own dedicated bathroom. And so when I sailed this boat, I stayed in the bunk bed cabin and had my own bathroom.
Yeah.
But it has a lot of options for configuring or accommodating different combinations of groups and people, which I liked. So there's that. The other feature that I really liked about it was that, like a typical Leopard, it has an outdoor eating area, salon area, and an indoor eating area, salon area that's combined with the galley, the kitchen. And it has a sliding glass door. But on this one, the sliding glass door went all the way open. And basically these two eating areas are able to combine into one. It's 2 separate tables and there's a gap in between. But it reminded me a lot of my favorite feature on the Bali, which is having an open air layout and a big long table area where you can seat lots of people. And it would have been very easy to seat 10, 12, 13 people comfortably. However, you can subdivide it by closing these sliding doors, and you can just have the outdoor one or just the indoor area. So if you're like, hey, we're going to put the kids inside and we're going to eat outside, or vice versa, or we just want to have 2 board games going on and we don't want to bother each other, or whatever reason you might want to have it divided, you can, but you can also open it up and have an approximation of that feeling that I like on the Bali so much, where everyone's together in the same space. You're all outdoors, and you might have 2 tables, kind of like at Thanksgiving. They're not all connected, but you can be sitting together and sharing a space.
Yeah.
Which I liked a lot. See video.
So in here we've got the generator, storage, and here's the anchor windlass. These should be water tanks. Let's take a look. Oh, nope. Not sure where the water tanks are. They're probably under there. It's a nice layout. cool table configuration. Looks like this opens up all the way. So we kind of get that indoor-outdoor vibe that I like so much on the Bali. There's 2 tables instead of 1, I guess. Oh, I see. These can go either way.
So that was a big win for me, was that flexibility of how you can combine or divide the outdoor space from the indoor salon. And the last thing that I'll say is that this was the real win for me, is that these cabins all have top hatches and they all face forward. So each cabin can open its windows, because this particular group didn't want to run the AC, which is fine. Yeah. I'm always happy to run it or not. So we weren't running the AC at nights, but we all had hatches that open, and it just scoops in the breeze and brings it in so the boat naturally cools itself. And if you're going to live on a boat, I think you want to be able to have that comfort level without always having to run the generator at night or to run the AC. It just lets you stay in an anchorage for multiple days or weeks and not feel like you have to be motoring or running the generator every day to kind of keep things comfortable. So the fact that you have hatches that go forward and bring in the wind, you have this subdividable space, you have such a nice flexibility and combination of cabin and bunk arrangements are all big wins for me. And the last thing that I really, really loved is that it has a water maker. The boats that we take out have water makers. They work most of the time. This one had a working water maker, but the favorite thing about it was that it was a 12-volt water maker.
And why does that make a difference?
Because that means that you don't have to run the generator to run the water maker. Because usually to make what I'll call a batch of water or to fill a tank takes multiple hours. And every other generator that I've used had to have a generator running.
The water makers.
Sorry, the water maker required the generator. So it's kind of the noise of a generator, which, isn't intolerable, but if you don't have to have it, it's even better. And so you have to run the generator to run the water maker. Whereas on this boat, you could just turn the water maker on, whether the generator was operating or not, and it would slowly fill the water tanks, which I think is a big win, to be able to have fresh water without having to always be the noise and the fuel of running the generator.
Do you have to be holding still to make the water?
You cannot be underway.
Okay.
A lot of people ask.
Just double checking.
Yeah, so you can't make water while you're moving the boat. And in case you're worried or wondering why that is, there are certain intakes, both for the generator and the water maker, that they're below the water line. And when you're moving the boat, if they come above the water line, they will pull air into the system. And that air can create problems that can damage it or shorten its lifespan. So you don't want to run the generator or the water maker unless the boat is stationary at a mooring or at anchor. See video.
So then you're going to go above. Come up this way. Wow, this is a big, spacious top deck. Nice little hangout spot. Lots of room out here. I like this. This is fun. This might be my new favorite model. Here's the helm station. Clean lines. Looking good. 4 bead bags, 2 paddle boards. We are cooking with gas.
All the boats are beautiful. They're these gorgeous boats that make sailing so easy. If we had a boat like that when we went out as a family with our 5 kids, maybe we wouldn't have ever come home.
It's just been fun to see. I love sailing all these boats, and I love them all for their different reasons, like you're saying. But it was really cool to just see a new model come out that combines a lot of things that I really like about the different makes. So I love that boats are continually changing and improving. There's all kinds of other features out there that I've never tried. They have all electric boats. I've never stepped foot on an all electric boat. There are all kinds of, there's spinnaker sails, and the boats that I take out never have them. And so there's always more to discover. But I just wanted to share something because when a new boat comes out, a lot of people are curious. And because we've had the opportunity to sample a lot of them, that's my take on why I like the 46-foot Leopard.
I love it. Thanks for sharing all of your opinions and takeaways on these great boats.
Hey, you bet. What could go right? Hey there, before we wrap up, I want to give you the sailing update. Lots of new things happening. We do have a few spots left in 2026, but we're mostly sold out. So I'm going to tell you what's going on with 2027. And then at the end, I'll give you a few updates on what's happening this year if you want to jump on a trip. Basically, 2027, we're going to go to the BVI in January. In March, we're going to be in the Bahamas. And not sure if it's going to be the Exumas or the Abacos yet, but just stay tuned for that. April, we'll be in Mexico, Sea of Cortez. May, we're going to be in Bora Bora. So if you want to fly to Tahiti, French Polynesia, and sail Bora Bora, we're going to be going there for the first time in a long, long time. So that's going to be a fun trip. June, we're in Italy. July, we're in Greece. August, we're in Croatia. September, we're in Italy. We're going to go to a second trip to Greece in September as well. And then November of 2027, we're back in the British Virgin Islands. And December, we're in the Bahamas again. So that's the lowdown for 2027. If you want to come sailing with us this year, here's what we have. We just got one extra cabin on our Croatia boat, August 1 through 8. We got a bigger boat than we expected, so we have a cabin for 2 people for August 1 through 8 in Croatia. Then in Norway, September 3rd through the 10th, we have a spot for 1 solo traveler. So that's going to be September 3rd through 10. It's going to be an epic trip. I'm super excited about that one. Italy in September is sold out. Mexico in October is sold out. Bahamas, November 9th through the 14th, we have a spot for 1 solo female traveler. And then in December 7th through 12th, British Virgin Islands is sold out. So that is what is available. If you want to learn more about any of these trips or get the details, visit theawesomefactory.nyc/sailing. Click to sign up for a time to talk with our team, with me, and we'll get your questions answered and hopefully welcome you aboard.
We can talk about trips all day, but it's more fun to hear from someone who's been aboard. Here is a recent guest takeaway.
Let's go. Yeah, you can talk into that. So the questions are, anything you were worried or concerned about before you came?
No, I was not worried about a single thing other than remembering starboard and port. Like, can I get it? And I got it. So we did it. This is port. This is starboard.
Nailed it.
Darn it! Oh, I got it. Only because we ran out of water on one side, and I remembered which side we needed to fill up the water tank.
All right, cool. So, what's something that was a happy surprise or delightful?
Happy surprise. We had great music, and we got to swing from a rope into the ocean, and we jumped in and did like the drifted underneath, and yeah. Dinghy was fun too at 5 knots. We sailed up to 9 knots, right? We got it up to 9 at one point
9 knots,
because
right out of the gate.
Because we were just we were cruising.
And if you were talking to somebody who's thinking about coming out, what might you
just do it? Yeah, it's fun. So, it's fun. Unexpected fun.